That boy is just unbelievable.
It's everything you could have hoped for in a red zone slot.
How did he do that? It was like something out of the Matrix.
He's the best quarterback over the last 3 years in the NFL.
That is winning football. It's as simple as that.
Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast. Plenty of action on Sunday, plenty of action still to come tonight, and plenty of action to talk about on Thursday Night Football. The Broncos beat the Raiders 10-7. Let's get straight into it. Has anyone got any conversation? Okay, moving on to the Sunday slate then. Colts beat the Falcons 31-25, 72,000 in attendance at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, which could have been one of the best international games that we've ever seen.
You're absolutely right. It was a stonker of a game, wasn't it? I mean, we got to the half, I think it was around 14-13 or so. It was a really tight game, and optimism certainly for the second half, and it just seemed to pop off, didn't it? We had the overtime, we had McQuaid all over Twitter, serving up, could not believe what was going on. Some really, really interesting content there. And Jonathan Taylor bursting for this 83-yard run. Certainly the longest in the NFL this season, and yeah, it was an incredible outing from him. Berlin really became less about the Colts and more about his highlight reel. 244 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 32 carries, and the most important one for me is, which is a credit to their O-line, 7.6 yards per carry. That is winning football. It's as simple as that.
They look really good. Tyler Warren as well and Alec Pierce in the receiving game. Fair play to the Falcons. I thought the Falcons played really well and certainly made it a better game than a lot of us maybe predicted. Drake London had a fantastic game. But yeah, all about the Colts yesterday. They managed to get it over the line when it mattered. And yeah, JT, man, he's genuinely the real deal and gives Daniel Jones that support system that in a couple of games that, let's face it, he's probably going to need. And with the addition of Sauce Gardner, didn't get the pick he was so close to getting yesterday, but yeah, they're the real deal and they keep marching on, don't they? They're sat at the top of the AFC with another unlikely team, if we're honest, 8-2, and yeah, the Falcons unlucky, but the Colts, man, they showed out yesterday in Berlin. 286
total yards for Jonathan Taylor. But you mentioned Sauce Gardner. I think it's good to just go back and talk about that trade. The Colts giving 2 first-round picks for him. Obviously, they think they have got a real chance of going all the way in the next couple of years. How much pressure does that put on Dan Jones? And do you think he's the right person for the job? Or do you think the Colts might have overpaid?
I think it's unfair for us to sit here and say otherwise, really. Granted, their O-line is fantastic. Jonathan Taylor is like Matt said, the real deal. But, credit where credit's due. Dan Jones is also balling out. There's been several games where we've left the game and gone, okay, this guy is, he's really turning things around since his days in New York. And, he was helping him in every way he could yesterday. He's passing the ball. He's moving it around to different targets. He found Warren. He found Pierce. He found Pittman at times as well, and he can move on his feet. He's this lump of a guy, but he can move when he wants to, and he contributed to that. Indy ran for 302 total yards yesterday, and ultimately we talk about how key is a performance from a quarterback. Well, it's being on the field, it's marching your team down the field and moving the chains, and they actually outpossessed Atlanta by 8 minutes worth of football yesterday, which is a substantial amount. So he's clearly capable of keeping his team moving forward.
Yeah, Berlin proving that the international series is truly alive with fans across the world. Madrid next week, looking forward to that one for sure, as that rounds out the international series. Elsewhere on Sunday, we had the Buccaneers Patriots 23-28 respectively. The Patriots proving that they are one of the best sides in the NFL, but no Bucky Irving for the Bucs, massive problem.
And I traded him away at the right time, it seems. So long ago now. What was that? Sort of week 4 time, and he really hasn't played since, has he? It's been such a weird...
And there's still doubts. They're being so secretive of his health. He's in and out of MRIs. He's on crutches, and you're like, well, what is wrong with you, Bucky? Is it your leg? Is it something going on with with your head or a secret concussion? I genuinely don't know, but it's woeful for my fantasy team.
They're really missing him, aren't they? I mean, obviously he's not on IR, so no one's really sure. So everyone's kind of keeping him around. But yeah, they're missing him. Someone who isn't being missed at the minute is Trayvon Henderson for the Pats. He made all the difference. 147 yards off 14 carries, 2 touchdowns, and he was the difference maker yesterday. Matt Collins as well, to be fair, having a really good game in the receiving game. One thing for the Bucks is Emeka Egbuka, a couple of quiet weeks, but he is well and truly back, averaging just short of 20 yards per attempt, which is crazy. 115 yards and a touchdown for the Buccaneers, which was a close game. Obviously, the Bucks are powerhouse in the NFC against the now 8-2 Pats, but yeah, obviously, like I said earlier, it's the Pats and the Colts at 8-2 in the AFC, and no one expected that at the start of the year. So yeah, really good from the sort of not underdogs, but some of the guys that we don't really expect it from. So yeah, it's been a good year so far for the Pats.
It's becoming quite the illustrious club, that 8-2 club. I tell you who isn't in that club, it's the Buffalo Bills. They lost to the Dolphins 30-13, a massive upset. Do you think that saves anyone in that Dolphins side?
I think it reaffirms that Devon Achane is an absolute stud, but other than that, probably not. No, it's great that they can secure a divisional win. It puts pressure on the Bills from a neutral fan perspective. It's dream time. It's everything you could have hoped for in a red zone slot. But other than that, probably not. I mean, it was more so, in my opinion, and not to take credit away from Miami, but outside of Achane, they didn't offer much. Tua was throwing picks. He was forcing the ball downfield again. Allen probably more so the letdown here, threw 2 interceptions and actually picked up 3 sacks in the game, which is uncharacteristic of him. We know that he's elusive, he can evade the pocket. They've been very successful handing off to James Cook. They've been able to utilise play action with the defence having to give time to Cook and appreciate Cook's efforts. So that's allowed them to get out of the pocket that way. It just didn't happen for them yesterday, and it gifted Miami a win. And like we said, Devon Achane, 174 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and that was only on 22 carries, which isn't a substantial amount. Granted, they fed him the ball a lot, but not as much as they usually do, it's fair to say, and he still performed.
On the flip side of that, you mentioned James Cook, 53 rushing yards in total and a fumble.
Yeah, there you go. That says it all, doesn't it, really? So I think it was just an off day for the Bills, but their main concern is the Patriots. That's who they need to be keeping a close eye on.
Vikings 19-27 Ravens. The balance has been restored here, guys. The Vikings back to losing ways, and Justin Jefferson limited to just 4 targets.
It wasn't a great showing, was it, from JJ McCarthy? I think he was just trying to pump it down the field long, which isn't a good look for a young quarterback. Obviously, I know they were chasing the game in the 4th, but yeah, I mean, Jalen Naylor played well, but that's pretty much it in regards to the Vikings. Yeah, not a good showing from them. And it wasn't even that the Ravens were fantastic, to be honest. Lamar Jackson, not a classic game. Derrick Henry didn't go far. Pretty low quality game, but yeah, quarterback struggles continue in Minnesota, and it really is affecting Justin Jefferson. So all the JJ owners out there, not going to be impressed once again.
It is, and they said in the week, didn't they, that JJ McCarthy referred to his alter ego as 9.
Oh, yeah.
And rightly so. That's what you get when you're 4-5 for the Vikings. So,
yeah, the Ravens also 4-5 now. They're clawing back their losing record. Lamar Jackson obviously back more or less in full flow now. Is he the person to save this Ravens side?
Lamar Jackson? 110%. It's Lamar Jackson. He is a stud. He balled out again, didn't he, yesterday? And
well, Smells mentioned it before we hit record. If there's one person that can just instantly flip a side, he's literally one person, and he can change the outcome of a team.
I mean, on his day, as I said the other week, he's the best quarterback over the last 3 years in the NFL. I didn't think he was amazing last night, actually, but he can do it all. His passing in the last year or 2 has come on so much. I've always said Lamar Jackson, great scrambler, gets things going. Not the most amazing passer of the ball, but he's flipped that switch in the last year or so. So yeah, he can do it. And look, if the Ravens can somehow get and scrape into the playoffs, they could be a danger to one of the top seeds.
Yeah, they've got some tough competition with who we've talked about previously on this episode. The Bears 24, New York Giants 20. The Giants, get this, have had above a 90% win expectancy against the Cowboys, Broncos, and the Bears in the 4th quarter, and they've thrown it all away again.
Yeah, Dable has to go, doesn't he? He's had more than enough time. He was he saved himself a few weeks ago with the QB change, and that's been effective. It's fair to say, although granted did potentially picked up a concussion yesterday, Dart. So we'll wait to hear on that one. But yeah, I think it's time to go. And there was reports in the week actually about the owners potentially wanting to move on from Brian Dable post the Broncos loss. You mentioned it there, Goody. They were in such a great position to win that game and to win a fair few games now this season, and they've just thrown them away. And we'd have certainly liked, from an NFC North perspective, to see the Bears be handed another loss. But actually, on the flip side of that, the Bears moving up now in the NFC North, and Ben Johnson really starting to build something there, and the culture's quite obvious and quite prevalent in that team.
Yeah, the Bears are now 6-3. Alarm bells in the NFC North for sure. Texans 36, 29 Jaguars. The Texan here scoring 26 points in the fourth quarter. Another fourth quarter comeback here. What a witching hour that was. The Seahawks 44, Cardinals 22. The Seahawks are balling out. That's all we have to say about that one. And then we've got the Commanders 22, Lions 44, 172 total yards for Gibbs. But the bigger talking point, I think, is the Commanders. They now fall to 3-7.
It's crazy, isn't it? How does a team go from being in an NFC championship last year to being in arguably a rebuild sort of situation? That's how it kind of comes across. I mean, you look at the teams with a similar record around them. The Jets now, after picking up a crucial win. The Browns, thank you Packers for that one. Even the Giants in their own division, in a rebuild and could have easily, we just spoke about it, could have easily had a couple more wins under their belt. So it's really concerning. And for me, granted, Jaden's had a mixed year. He's had a tough sophomore year with injuries. Where's Terry McLaurin? Where's, Deebo Samuel needs to start putting those finishing pieces together to get them over the line in these games. I don't know. It's frustrating. Commanders fans must not know where to look.
To be fair for the Commanders, though, I mean, I think, a lot of teams are feeling it. They haven't got the personnel out there. Like you say, Jaden Daniels has missed a lot of time. Terry McLaurin's not been there. And to be fair, Marcus Mariota played relatively well yesterday, but this isn't the team that got them to the NFC game last year. Nowhere near. And, Debo's doing what he can with the targets that he's getting, but, targeted 4 times yesterday for a touchdown. And they've got Bill at running back, who is so inexperienced, only 30 yards yesterday. And, their fixture list, because they were in the NFC Championship game last year, has been really tough. They faced a Lions side yesterday, coming off the back of a massive defeat with a lot to prove. And to be fair to them, as you say, Gibbs, unbelievable. Jared Goff, unbelievable. And probably not a game that you expect the Commanders to win. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think it's definitely fair to say. And the final thing I would say on it, it's going to be a very interesting watch in the off season. What do they do in the draft? The Commanders, what do they do? Do they make acquisitions? Do they let go of key pieces? Could they look to trade McLaurin, even though he's just taken on that contract? Lattimore, all of these. They're going to be such an interesting team to watch, and the fans will want to see action taken for sure.
Yeah, well, the Colts are giving away first-round picks like they're going out of fashion. So if anybody wants to start trading, go to Indianapolis. I think that's the best thing you can get doing there. The Jets scoring 27 points against the Browns. Garrett Wilson scoring me a big fat 0.
The Jets. 2-7, baby. Back-to-back wins. Who'd have thought it? Justin Fields with a bit of a mixed day, I think it's fair to say. Didn't throw much. 6 of 11, 54 yards, 1 touchdown. Minimal, but fair to say mistake-free. Special teams kind of took the.
I think there's 3 special team touchdowns.
There was, I think you might be right. There was a 99-yard kickoff touchdown, which is crazy, and there was a 74-yard punt return touchdown. So really, you take that out of the equation. I think it was a toss of a coin who wins that game, if you ask me. But credit where credit's due. The Jets' defense balled out, 6 sacks, 2 takeaways, and one of those sacks being a strip sack as well, which actually ended Cleveland's final drive. So, there is elements of that where they can be. That's got to be Aaron Glenn's culture that he's building, right? He's a defensive coach at heart, so you'd like to think that's starting to rub off on the defense a little bit. And key after they've just let go of Sauce Gardner, nice to see them reinforce that they can do it without him. What
they might have to also do without is Garrett Wilson picking up maybe either a different injury or reactivating the one that he's just come back from. So one to watch there. It is a nightmare. I'm not sure how serious that is, but yeah, I think he got like 3 or 4 targets, and then he limped back off the field. Terrible news if you're a Jets fan. Terrible news if you've got him in your fantasy team. 49ers 26, Rams 42. This was a massive game for a top spot in the NFC. And despite the loss of the 49ers, really promising signs from George Kittle and Mac Jones again.
Yeah, Mac Jones looked really good. No, nothing more he could have done, to be fair. George Kittle again. unbelievable. I think obviously he's come back from injury and he's had to play a massive part in the run block for CMC and Brian Robinson, who, by the way, was very good yesterday again for the second game in a row. But George Kittle's touchdown in the fourth quarter was probably the touchdown of the weekend, if we're honest. And yeah, just
How
cements
did he do
him.
that? It was like something out of the Matrix.
Honestly,
Freak athlete, isn't he?
Just cements him again as tight end one in the league for me and for probably most people. But yeah, just a few mistakes for the 49ers. You know, we started off with punt, fumble, punt, fourth down turnovers, things like this. And we just didn't have the D-line to get to Stafford. And we all know when Matt Stafford doesn't have the pressure on him, he's probably the best throwing quarterback in the league. You know, he's 25-2 for the season, touchdowns, interception. And he must be one of the front runners for the MVP because that boy is just unbelievable at the moment.
He is you talk about, we talk about Aaron Rodgers, we talk about could Tom
Joe
Brady
Flacco at the minute.
could Tom Brady still throw a football? Yeah, Joe Flacco. Matt Stafford, 24 of 33, threw for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had a 111.2 passer rating, and it's his third straight game with 4 passing touchdowns, which is just elite.
That's a crazy stat. That is.
It is, and you know what's funny? You
mind-blowing.
mentioned Brian Robinson Jr. The Commanders could use him, but yeah, it was a ball out kind of situation, wasn't it, for the Rams? And all eyes are on that game next week, aren't they? Week 11, Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams, both 7-2. That is just a massive, massive game.
And what this season's proving, with the likes of the Colts, the Seahawks, the Rams, we might finally get a Super Bowl without like the Chiefs in it or someone equivalent that we've not seen in recent years. Yes, the Rams won Super Bowl 56, but I think we're really teed up here for an exciting postseason, which is as a fan, if your team doesn't get there, you want to see some action. That's why Super Bowl 56 was so good with the Bengals as well. It's just refreshing to see. But you spoke about Tom Brady just then. He actually did a post match with Matt Stafford at the end of it, and he was like, "Yeah, Matt, you're balling out. Like you've got another 7 years on you. Like this." He was giving him that sort of confidence, and yeah, I think he could be an all-timer if he continues to sling how he does. Let's round out the Sunday slate. We've got the Chargers Steelers 25-10. Keenan Allen now entering the Chargers Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he now leads the Chargers franchise in catches with 956, which is just an astonishing record for him personally, but he'll be glad that that's actually contributing towards something. It's helping the Chargers make a real leap for the AFC North this year, and also, more importantly, for hopefully a deep playoff run.
Yeah, and he's definitely on track for maybe getting 1,000 there as well, which would be quite the landmark. To round out the podcast and the week, it's the Eagles at the Packers. Now, look, I know we've got a few Packers fans on this podcast, but regardless of that, NFC matchups don't really get much bigger than this.
They don't. It's a huge, huge matchup, and we've just got to hope that Green Bay honour their sort of mantra this year, which is just to play to the level of their opponent, which hopefully then extracts that top level of game that we can see when we've seen throughout the season, and certainly in those first 2 games for the Packers. It's just been so inconsistent. And I do think fans are starting to feel a little bit divided and lose trust in the team. They're just sort of so unreliable at this stage of the season. And ultimately for me, I don't know about you guys, but this is just going to come down to how well the D-line can perform against the likes of Saquon Barkley. Can the linebackers hold up? Quay Walker, Edrin Cooper, Micah Parsons expected to potentially be out of the game with an illness, which is very unfortunate, but that will contribute to Hurts escaping the pocket if he is.
From an outside perspective, like you just said, I think it's absolutely crucial that the Packers make Jalen Hurts throw the ball. They need to stop the run. But on the flip side as well, the Eagles are really strong with the pass defense. Where they're weak is sort of a QB scrambling, and unfortunately we know it's not Jordan Love's strength. So how can the Packers kind of get up the field? They need Jacobs to either rush well, or can Jordan Love try and evade the pocket and get out a little bit? It's just one of them. It's kind of like both teams are good at preventing what the other team's strengths are. So how can one team adapt? And probably from the outside, Jalen Hurts is maybe a little bit more adaptable, but I think he's more prone to having those bad games throwing. So I actually think it could be a really close game. I'd like to think that the Packers can, like you say, play to the strengths and play to the Eagles' level and maybe get over the line. We see the Eagles now and again fall to a silly defeat, i.e. the Giants. So yeah, obviously the Packers will be 5-3-1, which is essentially 5-4 if they lose. But if they're 6-2-1, miles better. But, if the Eagles can go 7-2, they put themselves in a really good position to be first seed.
Yeah, fully agree. Talk about silly losses, obviously, to the Panthers last week. That was definitely silly. But to answer your question about what our game plan would be, it's all just about launching it into double coverage 50 yards down the field. That's what Jordan Love loves to do. So, we need to maybe adapt a different way. Again, no Tucker Craft as well, probably relying on Luke Musgrave there. We didn't pick up a tight end before the trade deadline. So, without Parsons as well, could be doom and gloom for Green Bay. But look, it's the hope that kills you, and I am full of hope.
One final swing from me. I would love to see Rashawn Gary get some pressure on it's fair to say, weakened, not as strong O-line for the Eagles this season. They've actually allowed 9 sacks in the last 5 games. And Rashawn Gary's actually been his standout stat as a rusher this year, 7.5 sacks total. So can he get that pressure on Hurts? Can they disrupt the tempo, especially with Parsons out? It could be an opportunity for him to shine and earn the money that he's being paid, which is a substantial amount.
Yeah, what a matchup for Monday Night Football. Can't wait to see who gets one of those top spots in the NFC and to cover it on Thursday's episode. Let us know who you've got in the comments and on socials, and we'll catch you again later on in the week.